Hey there, and welcome to my second video tutorial. I wanted to show you how I created this interactive light up card with the red recording light and the off switch I created. So the circuit is fairly simple and also is the lever. But this was kind of a trial and error project, and I kept some of my mistakes in the video as I thought this might be helpful to you. So let's get started. So I have already prepared some of the pieces that I will need to create my card. So I've already assembled the camera and the Polaroid. And I also die cut the pull tab part, and I die cut the skinny part, the long skinny part 3 times to stabilize it, because it is very flimsy if you cut it from normal cardstock. And I also prepared my background piece. As you can see, I've already cut the notch to grab the pull tab part, and I also cut a slit for my pull tab, and I also cut a hole which is where the recording light of the camera is, so I will put my LED behind that. And I cut a slit, the small slit, and this is for my shutter button, because this will turn on the recording light, and that's why I need a slit there. Talking about the shutter button, I cut it several times from cardstock and glued them together for more stability, and I also cut the decorative part of the button. So the idea is to turn the camera light on by pushing the shutter button, and to turn the light off by pulling the pull tab. And to achieve that, I have to build a lever that will push the shutter button back in its original position, so that the circuit will be disconnected and the light will turn off. So this is why I cut this funny shaped piece. So if you pull the pull tab, it will lift that shutter button back in its original position. Later I noticed that I have to cut off a little part of that lever because it was showing behind the camera. So this is one of my mistakes I did. So just check with your camera on your card if that lever is visible or not. To build the switch, I cut a thin piece of paper and folded it kind of zigzag wise, so that I can glue one part to my button, then feed it through the slit and close it at the other side of the background piece. So this will help me to connect or disconnect the circuit. So as you can see, now I can move the shutter button up and down. For my circuit base, I've glued 4 layers of thick paper together to get kind of a board, and I already cut my battery holder and also the notch for the pull tab piece. I've also drawn in my circuit, and as you can see, it is very simple. I marked the position for my LED, and I have to disconnect the circuit at the position of the small slit for the shutter button, so that the shutter button can reconnect the circuit when it's pushed down. To complete my circuit, I have to attach a piece of copy paper, and then I can attach my copper tape. So I feed one part around the copy paper for the plus pole of my battery, and for the minus pole I left a piece to attach that to my card base. So here's the LED I've used. It's a red LED, and I attach it to the marked position in my circuit and check if it's working. So the light turns on when the battery holder is in place. And now I have to disconnect my circuit at the position of that smaller slit for the shutter button. So in the pull tab toaster die set, there's a piece that will help to guide the pull tab so it's not wiggling around. And I've cut that piece in half and attached it on the back side. Then I noticed that I forgot to glue my pull tab pieces together, and I had to do that afterwards. To build the part that will reconnect the circuit, I took my conductive fabric tape and I've created a roll, so with the sticky side outside, and I've attached that roll to the shutter piece, so on the back side of the shutter button, and you can see it's rolled up. And then I will take another piece of my conductive tape and will attach that around that roll, so sticky side to sticky side, to make it work and not stick to my surface. I've also applied conductive fabric tape to the ends of the disconnected part of the circuit, but as you can see, I attached it a little bit higher than the circuit, and my suggestion is to not do that because you do not have enough space for the on and off switch, so it's better to not put it that high. So it should be the same level as the circuit. So, but you can see it's even though it is working, so I'm putting my background piece onto my circuit base and turn on and off the light. So now I'm working on the lever part, and I've put one piece of paper onto my pull tab piece and one behind it, so I sandwiched the pull tab in between my lever pieces. But as you can see, those two pieces of paper were too weak to push the button back up. So I cut that same lever shape from very thick acetate 2 times, and I put it on to the pull tab piece, and then I glued my Polaroid to that part and then another piece of the other acetate piece. One thing I wanted to mention here, when I glued on the Polaroid, I used foam tape because the acetate is very thick, and I thought, okay, I will use foam tape, but then it won't fit through the slit of the camera. So don't do that, just use regular glue. So the next step was to glue my circuit base to my card base. And attach the leftover copper tape to it. And I also attached a piece of fabric tape to each side. Then I attached my background piece to the circuit base, and I used liquid glue instead of any foam adhesive because I thought I might have better contact of my switch to the circuit. But it is really tight now, so I recommend using a very thin foam tape to give the pull tab more space to move. I then used washi tape to secure my my lever ends because there were many pieces glued to each other, and I just wanted to make sure that they stick together very well. And you can see the mechanism is working. To attach my camera to the card base, I used foam tape, and I used the die for the Polaroid to as a placeholder to see where I must not put any foam adhesive. In one part of the foam adhesive I cut a hole to not block off my light, and I used very thin pieces of foam tape for the side with the lever because you must not put any foam adhesive in its way, so it can move freely. Then I attached my camera to the card base and checked if the mechanism is working, and it is. Woohoo! And then I started to decorate my scene. So I've already prepared a piece of green paper that I cut with the grassy border, and then I cut the scripty birthday from pink cardstock, and I've also prepared some ants from the Crazy Antics stamp set, and then I tried to figure out where to put my ants in the scene so they were meant to carry the birthday sentiment. So after my scene was created, I decided to give the recipient a hint that he can push the shutter button, and I used the push here stamp set, and I also used the kiddie pool ink to do that. And here we go. The card is all finished and ready to go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it was helpful to you and that you got an idea on how I created the mechanism. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment and I will try to answer it. Thank you very much. See ya!